deep beneath the pale, mineral-blushed plateaus of Sorelin, there existed a structure known only to a few, the Residuum Vault. It was not carved, nor was it constructed in any familiar sense. It was grown, formed from a crystalline sediment left behind by a celestial event no living soul remembered. Those who tended it believed it was less a vault and more a memory of the world's first breath. Above it, the landscape gave no hint. The stone fields stretched for miles, bleached lavender under moonlight, dusted with quiet flakes that never melted or blew away. But below, through a winding stair encased in silver glass, the vault spiraled gently inward, room by room, layer by layer. Lune, the caretaker, had walked those spirals for most of her life. Not with authority, there were no titles here, but with familiarity. She never considered herself a guardian. She preferred the term a tender one who noticed, one who bore witness to the slow drift of change in a place that rarely moved. The rooms pulsed with soft glows. Some breathed in shades of blue, others with flickers of unseen hues that touched the edges of perception. The walls were not smooth, but textured with indentations, scars, perhaps, or records of things long evaporated. That evening, as Lune passed the third chamber from the core, she paused. A faint vibration moved through her feet, not loud, not alarming, but present. The kind of presence that makes you turn, even before you hear it. She knelt beside the core wall and pressed her palm against the crystal edge. And there it was, a pulse dot. Something had changed. Not outside the vault, but within it. Asterisk in the vault. Nothing was labeled. There were no signs, no charts, no mechanical devices humming quietly in the background. What passed for technology here was a kind of resonance logica dance of light and vibration that acted as a language between space and sensation. Lune moved quietly from chamber to chamber, tracing each surface with her fingertips. The vault, she had once been told, did not reveal secrets quickly. It opened like dusk slow, barely noticed, until you suddenly realized the whole world had dimmed into stars. Into night. The vault was whispering. The pulse had begun to drift, not outward, but sideways. She could feel it shifting into adjacent corridors, curling around the residual core. Those quiet, crystalline nodes that stored what the vault called a ventone, echoes of occurrences not bound to linear time. She found one of the older cores glowing gently. This one hadn't shimmered in years. It was known for holding the silence after creating a record of what the earliest interpreters believed to be the quiet moment following the shaping of Sorelin's atmosphere. Not something dramatic, just this soft alignment of sky and land, but now it vibrated and not alone. Nearby, another core pulsed in tandem, forming a slow 2-beat rhythm. This was rare. The cores weren't meant to react, but these were speaking to each other. Lune sat cross-legged between them, closed her eyes, and inhaled. The air here always tasted faintly of silver and warmth. As she exhaled, the rhythm changed, slightly responded the volts. It seemed, had been waiting, not for a question, but for someone still enough to feel the answer. Asterisk, by the 4th day, the rhythm had spread. More cores were sinking. Their pulses came not as flashes, but as shifts in gravity. A gentle tug at the shoulder, a weightless sensation near the knees, a stillness that made blinking feel too loud. The vault's inner galleries, once almost silent, now throbbed with a gentle, structured hum. And with that hum came images that they were not projected or shown, but impressed upon Lune's mind. When she closed her eyes, she saw them not as pictures, but as memories she hadn't lived. One in particular kept returning, a single mirror stone, black and flat as still water, set into the center of an otherwise empty chamber. No one remembered a room like that existing. It wasn't on any floor plan, at least, not that Lune had ever discovered, but the image persisted. She followed the resonance trail to the inner spiral. The air grew thinner, quieter not in volume, but in presence. The closer she drew to the center, the more everything else seemed to hold its breath. And there it was. A door she had passed hundreds of times, now slightly ajar. Inside, the mirror stone waited. It wasn't no bigger than a page, but it sat perfectly centered on a pedestal of drift glass. When Lune stepped closer, the hum ceased. Total silence. She reached out, hesitated, and touched the surface with one fingertip. No flash, no glow, only a single unspoken phrase, delivered not through sound, but through sensation. Memory is not what was. It is what remains when the silence agrees. Asterisk, after the mirror stone revealed itself, the entire vault adjusted. Not outwardly, no one who visited would notice anything changed, but to Lune, everything felt realigned. The chambers pulsed at a lower register. The light became less reactive, more contemplative, if such a thing were possible. She returned to the mirror each day. It never changed, but the feeling it gave her did. With every visit, more fragments surfaced in her mind, moments she didn't recognize, but belonged to. A soft wind moving through undisturbed plains. A child's laugh echoing through a dome. The press of rain on bare skin, even though it had never rained in Sorelin. These were not her memories, but the vault had kept them, and now it was choosing to release them, not all at once, but like petals in water, one by one, in widening rings. The vault had become a resonant mind, and Lune was its point of contact. She began documenting not with pen or device, but through patterned breath. Each time she exhaled near the mirror, the surrounding air thickened faintly, as though capturing her rhythm. The mirror, in turn, responded with pressure not enough to move, but enough to register agreement that they were in dialogue, one formed of still frames, not scenes of action, but of presence. She understood slowly what the vault had always been. A keeper of traces, not history, not prophecy, but what lingered after meaning had dissolved. And through her, it had begun remembering itself. Asterisk, the residuum vault was never truly silent again. O. It remained soft, delicate, even. It never shouted, never overwhelmed, but its resonance became part of the living pulse of Sorelin, subtle enough that most surface dwellers passed through unaware. Yet those who were quiet, who breathed slowly, who allowed stillness to lead those individuals, began to feel it. Lune. No longer searched. She had passed beyond the impulse to seek answers and settled into something far more rare: presence. Each descent into the vault brought not discovery, but renewal. She would place her hand against the mirrored stone each evening and simply be. There were no questions, no demands, only breath. And the vault answered in kind, not with voices or symbols, but with touchless, warmth-like memory that didn't belong to anyone and yet lived in everyone. The mirror never changed form, never glowed with spectacle, but it had depth, a layered silence that became richer the longer she stayed near. At times, the silence shimmered with tension, as though holding back a wave of understanding. Other times, it was softer than sleep, like the hush that falls between waves in an unseen ocean. And always it welcomed. As the seasons above shifted gently from dry warmth to silver frost, the vault below deepened. The residual cores began to sink in new ways, pulsing not just in rhythm, but in patterns that formed tone sequences. Some of these patterns mirrored breath cycles, others mimicked heartbeats at rest. Visitors began to report feeling lighter. Not physically, but emotionally, carrying less tension, remembering more dreams. They began to stay longer. The vault never invited, but it received, and over time, Lune noticed something extraordinary. The mirror no longer only reflected sensations to her, it had begun to echo her stillness. Each calm breath she took sent a ripple through the surrounding air, and with it, the crystalline chamber responded, walls growing warmer, the light bending ever so faintly, like water curving around an unseen shape. One evening, as she lay in the heart-framed chamber, the innermost room, where the ceilings curved like petals and the air held the texture of velvet sleep, she felt the full shape of the vault's memory rise around her, not as an image, but as a knowing. What lingers is not lost. What waits is not forgotten. You are part of the residue now. Lune didn't move. She didn't even open her eyes. She simply smiled, because now she understood. The residuum vault had never been meant to store answers. It had always existed as a stillness reservoir, a place where the calmest truths in the world waited patiently for someone slow enough to feel them, a place where the echo of what mattered would never fade. And when Lune finally drifted into sleep that night, wrapped in the pulse of memory and light, she felt neither arrival nor departure. Only belonging, the kind that doesn't speak, doesn't, as just remains.